deposit money into my broker account. I deposited $200, and that's it. And you try to grow that. Later in time, you understand that it is important to focus on percentages. I was just trying to flip my account, But later you understand how important thinking in percentages is. And at that point, I realized that $200 were not enough to make a living out of trading.
Welcome everyone to the Prop Challenge, the show where your favorite traders from the Forex, indices, futures and commodity markets come together to show you that they have what it takes to pass a prop firm challenge live right in front of you. You get to see all of the trades that they've taken live so that you can learn from their trading strategy and their methodologies. You also get to see exactly how they would execute in a live type of scenario. Now, I know what you're going to say, there is no hindsight trading. All trades are simulated through FX replay with live data taken from the last 2 years. A random month is chosen from the last 2 years by our random wheel chooser thingy device. Anyway, here are the rules. Our rules are based on the most popular prop firm parameters. They emulate similar targets and restrictions to your favorite prop firms. Traders must achieve an 8% gain given an unlimited time period to trade, much like most of these prop firms nowadays, starting from a random month, of course. However, they must adhere to strict rules of 4% max daily drawdown and an overall drawdown of 8%. So let's see if your favorite traders are really able to put their money where their mouths are and prove that they have what it takes to take on the prop challenge. Right, welcome everybody. Today we're here with Edward from Forex XL, also known as Edward XL. He's got all of his pages. He's got the Life is Bullish podcast, which I was on recently, which was really great. We actually just did a podcast and it was really, really great. You guys should go and head over to the video that would have already been posted earlier and check it out because it was really great. So Edward's decided to take on the prop challenge where we're going to have him pass his virtual prop challenge with us. So Edward, welcome, bro. So today, I think it's going to be really cool. I think it'll be cool to dive into your strategy and learn more about the way that you trade. So do you think you have what it takes to take on a prop challenge and see what it is like with, randomized data and trading it pretty much with simulated trades? Have you traded like with simulated traders like this before? Or do you usually just like bar replay on TradingView?
I usually just bar replay on TradingView. So this is just disclaimer. My first time, I just created my account 30 minutes ago. My first time being on Forex replay, but I'll do my best to use it. Maybe I'll ask you for some advices on how to. For sure. Yeah, I'm here to help, bro. So when it comes to prop firms, like you have your own prop firm, which is kind of crazy. So you know the ins and outs about it. What is your take on prop firms? What do you think about the opportunity of prop firms in general that is given to us as traders? I believe that, of course, prop firms are a game changer. At the same time, many are popping up, so you need to be careful with which prop firm you're going with. But, when I started trading 9 years ago, the only option that I had was just deposit money into my broker account. I deposited $200, and that's it. And you try to grow that. Later in time, you understand that it is important to focus on percentages. I was just trying to flip my account, But later you understand how important thinking in percentages is. And at that point, I realized that $200 were not enough to make a living out of trading, but not even 1,000, to be honest. So later in time, I found out about prop firms. I went with FTMO. I went with my Forex ones. I was funded with both of them for a while, and then I also tried some other prop firms later in time. But of course, they changed the game, because if you are a good trader and you know how to reach the target, then you can get access to a way bigger capital and you can actually make way more money compared to using your own in a broker. Now, at the same time, let's not forget about the importance of having your own account without any limitation, because of course, prop firms give you this opportunity, but they have some rules. So I believe that if you're a good trader, you pass prop firm challenges, you make money, you can start using that money to also build your own account. I'm not a believer that you only go with prop firms or you only go with brokers, but I believe the two things just work together.
What do you think is the secret behind firstly getting funded and staying funded?
For me, of course, I understand that people can have different strategies, but for me, it's personally take less trades. Take less trades and try to focus on the best trades only, especially now that there are many no time limit prop firms. You don't have any stress, you don't have any limit on how long you can take to actually pass the challenge. So if you just rush into trades because you want to make money, then you just need to work on your perception of money and understand that it will only come as you just focus on the plan and focus on the things that you can control. So the moment that you start taking less trades and only taking the best trades that you can possibly take, you will make more money, you will pass more challenges.
Right. Well, without further ado, guys, we're going to hop straight into Edward's trade plan, right? So, your trading rules, right? Firstly, what pair, what session, and what time frames are you going to trade to pass the prop challenge?
So I trade EURUSD, JPUSD, NZD CAD, and also JER30, the indices. Sometimes, honestly, I do trade gold, but very rarely, only a few times a year, probably, only when I see very good opportunities. So I would say mainly those other pairs that I mentioned. I trade during London and New York session, only the first couple hours of the session, whether it is London or New York. And I stay between the 30 minutes and the 1 minute time frame. So I usually start from the 30 minutes and then I execute on the 1 minute personally.
All right, and then let's get into your entry criteria. What do you look for before you enter?
I look for a manipulation of some liquidity, whether it is a major liquidity high or low, or whether it is previous high liquidity or previous low liquidity. I try to master as much as possible the best liquidity points that I can find on charts. And after that, I look for confirmations. Now, at the same time, this is one of the two ways in which I enter, which is after the grab of liquidity. The other way it is targeting the grab of liquidity. So if I see a major liquidity towards which price will probably go, then I try to trade the fake change of character going towards that liquidity. So if we have a confirmation on lower time frames, possibly on the 1 minute, if we have a confirmation on lower time frames before the liquidity grab, I will not consider it a good confirmation. I will try to counter the confirmation to actually target higher or lower depending on the direction.
Right, that's very interesting, bro. Very similar to the way that I trade. In terms of your trade management, so do you? What is your risk per trade? So, if, for example, if you're trying to pass a challenge like now, what do you risk per trade? Do you have a fixed TP, or do you have a variable TP? So you're changing, based on structure, etc., etc. Or and then do you go break even on your trades?
Yes. So I do go break even on my trades. I don't take any partials. I take minimum 1 to 3 restored ratio trades, but I don't have a fixed take profit. It can be anything between 1 to 3 and 1 to 7. I rarely hit 1 to 7s, but I would say that's my maximum. I don't usually target higher than that. Also, because if I would, then I would need to take partials, as I'm not able to just keep open forever the trade and target the 1 to 20 restored ratio trades, which are not sustainable long term. So these are my rules. Did you have any other question that you asked me?
So what do you risk per trade if you're trying to pass a prop firm evaluation?
1%. So whether I
1%.
have a couple different approaches, one is way more risky, I would say. The other one is just to risk 1% per trade. If it is no time limit, maybe even 0.5%, but I usually go with 1%. The other approach, which is a little bit more aggressive, which I actually used a couple times to pass challenges, but disclaimer, to do this, um, it was more of an aggressive approach, therefore it was more risky, way more possibility to blow your challenge. It was just my decision to do it. Those couple times that I did it was to risk 1% per trade. You start with 1%, and you take only 1 to 3 restored ratio. Once you go to 3% in profit, so let's say you start from 0, you hit a 1 to 3, you go to 3% in profit, then you double your risk. You go to 2% risk. So you either come back down to 1% in profit, or you double your risk and you almost pass the challenge.
Right. But also out of interest, once you get funded, what do you end up risking? Do you go to 0.5%?
Yeah, half. Yeah,
Okay,
0.5.
Right. So, because I mean, there's a lot of people that are they get pretty aggressive with their prop firm challenges. I've noticed, and I've done it too as well. I mean, once I've gotten my first withdrawal or two, after that, I'm kind of like, I made my money from this account. Maybe I should just swing for the fences. And I've done that a couple of times, and that's actually where I've made my biggest profits, to be honest with you. But I think it comes from a place of mentally I've detached from the account. I've made the money from it. I'm profitable on it. I've made withdrawals already. And so, yeah, I mean, that was when I made the biggest profits. So for you, obviously you're looking like more like longevity with those accounts, right?
Yeah, I try to keep them as long as possible. Of course, I also lost some of my accounts. It's hard to, with those rules, it's hard to keep them forever, but you can make enough money to say, well, it was worth it. I paid, I don't know, $1,000 to get access to 200K, and maybe on those 200K account, I made an average of 3, 4, 5% per month for, I don't know, 6 or 7 months. Of course, it's worth it. Yeah.
Interesting. I mean, a lot of people, I don't know how you do it, but a lot of people, copy trade all of their prop firm accounts together. Do you recommend that? Or do you think trading them individually is better?
So to the point where I had 2 or 3 accounts, I could manage it manually. 3 accounts, I still managed it manually without many problems. I also have 2 phones, so it was easier. When it is more, it's better to copy trade.
Yeah, bro. So it's really interesting. Sometimes, what I did previously was I had multiple accounts and then I would trade them separately. So I would have one account which is high risk and then other accounts that are much, much lower risk that I would try to keep for much longer. But then I would have multiple accounts that are high risk. So for example, I'd have like 200Ks that I would have one where I would take a really aggressive trade on. And if it doesn't work out, maybe I lose 2-3%, right? Then I can go on to the next account and take that same trade just as aggressive. And what I found was that most of the time the second trade worked out and I was able to withdraw those profits. Then I go back to the previous account and just kind of fix that account, right? And then I'm able to repeat the process again. So then I've got 2 fresh accounts essentially, and then I can be aggressive on one. If it doesn't work out, I take the next one. Hopefully that works out, right? So that was how I got some of my biggest withdrawals. But some people are just like, I think with yours being a bit more conservative and just being conservative, having more accounts. Like you say, making $5,000 is the same as making $50,000, just with more scale, right? So it's interesting. There's those 2 different approaches. It just depends on your personality, I think. But yeah, I mean, we're going to hop into your challenge soon. I'm really excited to see how you trade. We're going to jump straight into the random date draw. So we're going to draw a random month for you to trade, either in 2022 or 2023, depending on how close it is to now. So if, for example, in the last 3 months, the date is, for example, July, we're going to go to July of last year instead of July of this year. So you have at least like 4 months to play with because there's going to be no time limits. So we're going to jump straight into that date draw and then we'll see you on your prop challenge. Good luck, dude.
So getting started with this, let's wait until London session starts. Unfortunately, here I took a look, but there is no Asian range and there's no kill zones, which I usually look for. I trade during London and the New York session after the Asian range, which is something that I really believe it's helpful for my strategy. Also, I really consider if the Asian range is trending or if the Asian range is ranging. This is a crucial thing in my strategy. And at the same time, it is just based on liquidity. One of my key philosophies in trading is that I must take only A+ setups. As you might know, I'm also the owner of Goat Fund Trader, and I have a lot of things to manage. I have my personal business to manage. I have the prop firm to manage, and I also love trading, and trading is actually where everything started from. So in order to make this work, well, it should be anyway, it should be regardless, but having all of these things to take care of actually pushed me to only take A+ setups. So if I have only one setup per week, I will only take one setup. If I have more, of course, I will take more. But having all of these things to manage really actually helped me with my trading. I got even better as a trader because it just pushed me to say, you know what, I will only take a trade if the setup that I want to see happens. If it doesn't happen, then I'll just work on other things. And this is the key philosophy that anyone should have in their trading. So I mark out key liquidity levels, and I just want to see one of these levels to be taken in order to consider trades. In this particular video, I will only take reversal trades because I cannot see my Asian range. But when I do have access to the Asian range indicator, I usually take continuation trades until the liquidity is taken through trading the fake change of character, which is one thing that I mastered in my trading. But here, not being able to see the Asian range, it's kind of hard to actually have the confluences to take continuations and fake change of characters until we actually take the liquidity. So for this reason, I will just focus on the reversal setups, which are usually actually my best setups. So you will see the best version of my setups that I trade, which are the reversal setups. So perfect. Here, London session still needs to start. We're about to start. I put my, let me actually put my time zone, which is the same as London time zone, even if I'm based somewhere else in Canary Islands. Here the session starts, London session starts. As I said, I will be able to possibly, it depends, to possibly take continuation setups until this liquidity is taken if I would have access to the visual indicators that I usually use, like the Asian range and so on. But it's better to focus on the best setups of the two. And as I said already, my best setups are the reversal setups. So here we're waiting for this liquidity to be taken, which, as I said already, liquidity is one of the key things of my strategy. And since we are doing a simulation of a prop firm challenge, I will just assume I'm taking 1% risk per trade. Here we take the liquidity. And now at this point, the only way that I will consider a trade is if I get this type of confirmation. Why this type of confirmation? This is the level that actually takes the liquidity. Therefore, I want to see that happen. For now, we start retracing. It's already past 4 p.m. And after 4 p.m. London time, I stopped trading. So if this would have happened very quickly, so reversal to the upside, confirmation, and possible entry, I would have taken it. Here at this point, it's 4 p.m. I will not take the trade. Perfect. So this is not valid anymore. And we're just waiting for the day to be over. You might be surprised that I'm a lot on lower time frames. I used to trade on the weekly, on the daily, 4 hours, 1 hour, and so on until some time ago. Well, actually some years ago. But then I evolved my strategy into liquidity areas and a lot of understanding of lower time frames. I know a lot of people say don't get lost on lower time frames, and I totally agree with them if you are starting to trade. But I've been trading for 9 years, and I believe that during these 9 years, I've really mastered what I want to see. I'm a big believer, and I really say a lot of times that you need to train your eyes to see certain things in order to trade them comfortably. So I really trained my eyes a lot to see certain setups, and when I see them, I just know that I can take them. When I say train your eyes, I'm a big believer that you should print your charts. This is what I usually say. Wait a second. I say a lot of times I say that it's super important to print your charts. I usually say this to the people that trade with me, and I always print my charts right here. I usually have a pile of good setups and one for the bad setups, and this allows me to actually just take a look at hundreds of good setups that I took, and they usually have a lot of things in common. These are a lot of charts actually, and then I can take a look at all the bad setups, and I can see all of the things that I have in common, and many times they look similar. So once you see hundreds of charts at the same time, in the same 20, 30 minutes, you see a lot of them, you just train your eyes to recognize certain patterns. So here the day starts. Sorry, I just wasn't covering it. Here the day starts, and I just wanted to see this liquidity to be grabbed in order to take the trade. And this is still the major liquidity to the upside that I would like to see grabbed in order to take the trade to the downside. If we want to trade reversals, again, I'm not trading any continuations for now. Maybe there would have been some opportunities, but I'm more interested into reversals, as it will be easier for me to recognize them in this moment. Perfect. Here it's already 5 p.m., so it's out of my trading times for the day. We are done, and we're moving on to the next day. Here we are creating a new low of the day, which goes below this liquidity. Therefore, for the next day, this still remains the major liquidity to the upside that we want to see grabbed. This is the major liquidity to the downside, which we want to see grabbed. This actually needs to be more accurate. And we are waiting for London sessions to start. Here is still during the night, at least night in my time zone. Perfect. And London session at 7 a.m. starts with a nice manipulation. So first of all, we need to make sure that this is put correctly. We want to be very accurate to where we place it. Here is where we placed it, and here we can see a clear confirmation. I'm usually a big believer, and I talk a lot of times about fake change of characters, because fake change of characters happen all the time. Even if we take a look right here, we can see a lot of fake change of characters all the time that they happen. But at the same time, I'm a big believer on, I don't know why I keep saying big believer. I really like to trade good change of characters when they do happen. So here in this case, this is the area which manipulates, and this area gets broken. Therefore, I will look for buys from a 0.5% area. Okay, I have no idea on how to do this because I've never done it, but let's see. Stop loss 1.2466, just below this. This is my entry, this is my stop loss, and now I need to go on higher time frames to set my take profit, but I would personally like to see this internal liquidity be taken for a 1-to-4 risk to reward ratio, even if we might, my minimum risk reward ratio is 1-to-3. So to just make that clear, potentially we could go all the way up here. However, I would never hold a 1-to-18 risk reward ratio. So let's target, my minimum is 1-to-3. We can target some internal liquidity areas that we have alongside this move before we reach this supply area right here. So our target, we have this internal liquidity, we have more internal liquidity. One way to actually make me decide what I could target is to put the usual premium and discount and just target a premium area. So targeting the 0.5. Why? Because above it, there are many other internal liquidities. There's this internal liquidity, there is this internal liquidity, but there are bigger possibilities of actually reversing when these are grabbed, and actually maybe just we might not actually get to this supply before dropping, or we might not drop at all, but at the same time we might reverse earlier. My overall objective is to at least target this internal liquidity, but we can also target the overall move premium area, so above the 0.5. So now I just need to understand how to place an order, because I have no idea. Buy market, perfect. Let's say I enter from there, yeah. Stop loss 1.2466. Take profit 1.2518, let's say. And risk percent I already saved. Order is not complete. Position size, I have no idea. Isn't that calculated automatically? Amazing. Not sure what just happened, but amazing, perfect. So risk percent, 1% risk. Total amount, estimated loss, probably, I don't know, maybe because of fees, I'm not sure. But anyway, price, perfect. Stop loss, perfect. Price is a little bit in profits, but right, let's make it happen anyway. Take profit 1.25, perfect, amazing, save. Okay, let's get it done. So the entry is actually a little bit higher, even if I would have entered from 0.5, but for the sake of this simulation, we'll make it like this. And let's see if we get to stop loss or take profit. If we get to take profit, it's a bit more than 1-to-4 risk to reward ratio. Okay, we move to profit, we go. And for also, just to make sure that you understand my strategy, I never take any partial profit, never. And I either take a full stop loss, a full take profit, or break evens. But for break evens, I need to be at least 1-to-1 risk reward ratio in profit to even start thinking about possibly moving to break even. And great, amazing. And that's good. First trade, we hit a take profit, and I'm in profit of 5K on this account. And let's say profit target is 10%. I don't know. There are some prop firms that even have 8%, but let's do 5. Sorry, let's do 10. Got confused. This is all on the same day. After taking the internal liquidity, we drop. Anyway, we're not interested anymore. We will look for the day after. Okay. So what is this? Still on the same day. Still on the same day. Perfect. We go actually grab the liquidity, but anyway, we continue. Okay, and it is time to actually mark out our liquidity areas. Now, unfortunately, the chart is not looking so good, but anyway, we'll need to look for this liquidity. And for the lower liquidity, there's not really anything that I would look for. It doesn't look really good. Doesn't look so good, but I can look for sells above that area. So let's see what happens. Waiting for London start, just started right now, and I drop to lower timeframes. I drop to lower timeframes, and Asian range is trending. Well, let's see if I can catch a fake change of character to the downside. So Asian range is trending to the downside. The London session starts. I will either look for sells above this, or let's see if I can kind of grasp a fake change of character along the way. And for fake change of character, I mean anything that doesn't grab liquidity and gives a fake confirmation. So let's see if that is actually the case. Perfect. So here, what happens is that we have a break to the downside and a break to the upside. At this point, what I need to look for is a confirmation to enter sells. Okay. Here we break this area. So I usually mark this out as fake change of character. All right. And I will look for sells. I will actually enter sells if this area is reached. Stop loss above the area, take profit at the liquidity where all the people that see the change of character and want to enter from what? Demand. Sorry, let me mark it out. From all the people that want to enter from where? From demand. I want to target that liquidity to go lower. So let's see if this actually happens. Let's place an order. Again, let me see if the secret way works again of placing the order. Amazing. Apparently it does. But I don't know why the estimated loss is the same as the possible profit. Let me see. So risk amount 1%, perfect on initial balance. Yes, correct. That's what I want to do. Take profit 1.2516. Yes. Stop loss 45. The only thing missing is that it's perfect. This is why it's a limit order and the price is this. Oh, wait. And the price for the possible entry is going to be this. Perfect. So we have a 1-to-4 again restored ratio, 1-to-4.1. Save it. Perfect. We have a limit order placed. And let's see if that actually takes place. I'll try to make it a little bit quicker. Maybe 5. And we hit a stop loss. So we hit a stop loss and we hit a minus 1%. This change of character was actually a good change of character. So I was wrong and we move on. Moving on, we're still looking for this major liquidity to the upside to be taken, but we are at the same time towards the end of the day. And here after this crazy move to the downside, we can see that this liquidity to the downside is taken. After this liquidity to the downside is taken, we need to make sure that the line is placed correctly. Here at this point, I will go down to the 1 minute and I will look for this area again to be broken. I really doubt that we will take this area to the upside, but I will mark it out just to take a look at that. Yeah, it doesn't. We still keep dropping, and that's it. We're done for the day. Okay, let's move on to the next one. Perfect. Here is 7 in the morning. So another day starts, and I need to zoom out a little bit. And we don't have any area to look for, okay? I don't have any area to look for, so what I will look for is just higher time frames. In this case, is one of the cases where I really need higher time frames to come and help, which usually are not. All right, never go this much back, so I will not look at that. Overall, we are in a bearish trend. However, looking at lower time frames on the 3 minutes, I will just look for my usual setups. So here we start. At this time, we don't have any major higher time frames liquidity to target. I will just look for the previous day liquidity right here, possibly buys below this area. And in the meantime, fake change of characters until that area is reached. Let's see. So let me try to understand here. Asian range finishes perfect, and we're now trending to the downside. Okay. Okay, we grab this area. We are already in the 1 minute. There is not any structure that can confirm me any bullish confirmation. Therefore, I cannot enter anything. And we're done. Price usually just goes from liquidity to liquidity. So again, here we grab the liquidity, we went to the upside. There's just no way to get involved in this for me personally. Let's move on to the day after. The day after is going to be more interesting for sure, as we have both upside liquidity here and downside liquidity here for possible both buys and sells. It's going to be way easier to trade this day compared to the previous day. So here, still we are inside the Asian range. It's about to finish. Here, it might look familiar, right? Where did we see this already? Let's see if it plays out again. Nothing is 100%, but I really like to take my setups that look as repetitive as possible. We marked out the line at the correct price. Here, we go and check what happens. After grabbing liquidity to the downside, we also break to the upside right here. At this point, I'm looking for an entry. And I'm looking for an entry at my usual 0.5. Now, let me make it as low as possible. Okay. This is my entry. So I need to mark it out. Again, sorry for being a little bit slow on Forex Replay. It's my first time using it. So here, stop loss, take profit. And as target, we can use the usual method that we used. Even on the other trade, we just mark the overall move to the downside. We have the 0.5 right here, and we can target at least all of this internal liquidity to this 0.5 for our 1 to 6. If this takes place, I would pass my phase 1 already. So this really shows the power of taking the best setups and having a good risk to reward ratio. As I said, I personally take minimum 1 to 3. I know that there are traders that also have a good strategy with a 1-to-1 risk-reward ratio. I have nothing against that, but this is what works for me. Let's see if the confirmation actually holds, or if we will lose another 1% and we will move on to the next day. Perfect. Looks good. It's a market order. Everything looks great. Let me make it a little bit faster. And this is a stop loss. Hit another stop loss for a minus 1% again. And at this point, it's still 8 a.m., so we can still have other confirmations if we take this high to the upside, which we do. We do right here, and I'm looking again for an entry, still 0.5 to 0.5, still the same thing. Usually for my entries, I don't just mark out the 0.5, I also try to look for refinements of supply and demand areas. But again, I'm trying to just have a good and fast approach in this simulation. It's 90% similar to what I usually trade, so it's pretty realistic. So here, let me go to the 1 minute. And as I mentioned, I need to have minimum 1 to 3 risk to reward ratio. I still believe that we can go higher than than this 0.5. So I'll target minimum on 1 to 3 right here. Checking if it makes sense. Yes, makes sense also on higher time frames, as here there are some supply areas that might be reached. And I'll go through 1 minute to check if we have a nice retracement. All right. We are having an entry. One to three, looks good. Perfect. And we see what happens now. All right, and we hit take profit with this 1 to 3. We might continue going higher. We might go for this liquidity to the upside. That's fine. I also forgot to readjust this. We might continue to the upside. It's fine. This was my target. We're good with the target. We are up 6.4% in this challenge, and we have left 3.6% in order to actually pass it. This went on for few days, but again, we used to have challenges where you just needed to pass in 30 days. Now there's a lot of challenges with no time limits, so it can be even easier. Now let's go back to higher time frames. So we had take profit here, stop loss where I tried to trade the fake change of character, the fake change of character, which actually was a correct change of character, was a good change of character, and then confirmation, a first confirmation here where I hit stop loss, second confirmation where I hit take profit. And we go for the higher liquidity, which would have been higher over there. At this point, this liquidity is taken. It's New York session starting. We can actually look for sales as well. Another rule that I have in my strategy is that I take maximum 3 trades per day. I never take more than 3 trades per day. And if the first 2 trades are a stop loss, I don't take any more trades. Now, it really rarely happens that I take even more than 1 trade per day, as I only take a few trades per week. But yeah, perfect. Here, we do have a confirmation. Let's see if this confirmation holds. My confirmation is down here, actually. And I just use the usual 0.5 to look for a possible entry from this supply. Now, I need to zoom in, as that supply might be mitigated already. So yeah, this oversupply is mitigated already, but if we refine it, it's not. Anyway, I'll just leave it like this. Actually, it's not mitigated. No, okay, it's fine. But anyway, yeah, if we refine it, it's not mitigated. Anyway, I just want to look for a way to get involved above the 0.5 from a premium zone. And I'll just enter from this area with stop loss above the overall protected high. And we can do the same reasoning even to go to the downside, where we can have the usual, gets a little bit confusing here. 0.5, so we target any zone below this area. I would just target this area for 1 to 3.2. Actually, let's go for this demand area. So we might finish the challenge, and I'll delete this. Now I'm going a little bit fast just to show things. Of course, when I'm actually on charts, I have my indicators on the chart, I have my Asian range, I have everything. I can explain even more carefully everything, but still, this is a very good starting point. Well, anyway. Perfect. So there was no confirmation to actually get involved here. We just dropped. Usually price, as I said, moves from liquidity to liquidity. That's actually what happened. And after taking the liquidity, we dropped. I wasn't able to get involved. And after we go towards my take profit and we almost reach it, I'm not interested anymore into an entry. Therefore, I just delete these things and I move on. And we move on to the next day. Now guess for which areas we're going to look for the next day. This area and this area. Now, this is because of the current market conditions that we see during May 2022. But of course, if when I went on higher time frames on the 1 hour, we would have had other good areas of liquidity, then higher time frames can actually play a role, an important role as well. Here, that's not the case. I never like to go back and look for liquidity that much back. That's not what I do. So I just keep it simple and just look for it here. Let's wait for another day to start. 6 in the morning, right here. We go on lower time frames. I make it slower. Perfect. 7 in the morning starting. That's good. And this is another day where I could look for fake change of characters, but let's just keep it simple and look for good change of characters for now. I might risk it and maybe enter one for even to just explain again what's my thought process behind it, and then we'll see. For now, nothing is happening. Still, we have our 2 liquidity areas that we want to see grabbed. No, it's not. Let's see if now the New York starts at 1 p.m. we can have a nice push to the upside or downside in order to have a trade. And that's it. 4 p.m. arrives. That's the time where I'm not interested anymore, but we will still have the same liquidity areas for the day after, as they are still our major liquidity areas. So let's take a look at that. And we're just waiting for the next day to start. Here, 7 in the morning, perfect. Slowing it down a little bit. Actually, let's just stay here until the liquidity is grabbed. Perfect. Now, one thing that I really like to look for while this is happening is we are clearly going towards this liquidity, right? If there is a fake change of character, I will take it. Now, this is not enough structure to consider it is a fake change of character. Candle, I mean, looks okay, but I will never take this personally, where we break to the upside and downside and we reach a nice demand area. But again, there's no confirmation here. There's not really a lot of structure to take this. So we'll just wait. We'll wait for that liquidity to be taken. New York starts right here. Let's see if we can have a nice push to the upside. No, we just push to the downside. All right, so here still we're targeting this liquidity. This liquidity hasn't been grabbed yet. Here we can have some signs of exchange of character, which is not confirmed yet. But in order to take some buys to target this liquidity, which are super, how you say, aggressive buys. Of course, the setup that we want to look for is sells. But still, if we want to take some buys, we need to see a confirmation. And that's it. We just drop and 4 p.m. arrives and nothing happens. So we move on again to the next day. This can get boring. Sometimes trading actually must be boring because, as I said already in the premise of initially of this video, is that there can be weeks where I don't take a trade. So I was actually surprised that I took 4 trades in this short amount of time. Perfect. So Here, again, we don't have any liquidity to the downside to look for. We have this liquidity to the upside, but it's not as interesting as it's really far away. This is probably a day where we don't take a trade. Right. So we'll just zoom out and we'll just wait for this day to be completed and to create some liquidity for the next day. Sorry. Perfect. 7 a.m. in the morning. Here, previous liquidity to the upside is still there. It's far away to even be considered, but we will consider this liquidity to the downside. Hopefully this liquidity to the downside is taken during this day, so we can consider buys. Let's see if that happens. It happens right here. Perfect. The liquidity is taken, and let's see where it is taken from. Let's first of all place this correctly. It is placed correctly. Now we go here. And well, I will consider this as we are done, because you've seen how my thought process is. And once we take this is the high that takes the liquidity. Once the wicks actually go above it, for me is a good confirmation. 0.5 as usual. It's very repetitive, always looks the same. And here we have a long position. We have a long position for at least a 1 to 3.5, which is our target. And we're done with the challenge. Now, I didn't enter it with Forex replay. You are right. It's okay. But this is overall my strategy. This is the beginning of my strategy with some concepts of it. We're missing all of the fake change of character. You've seen a little bit of it, but without the Asian range indicator, it was really hard to actually understand where it was happening. But if I could give an advice to someone that really is interested into liquidity and trading from liquidity to liquidity, look at the most recent liquidity. You might need higher timeframes, especially if you are a beginner. But if you are more advanced and you feel like you can master lower timeframes, start printing your charts, start training your eyes to see things, and everything will improve with time. Thank you for watching. I hope that this was helpful.